Right, it's time to talk World Cup. We're joined live, as promised, at the top of the show by England opener Tammy Beaumont. Tammy, thanks so much for your time, live from Bengaluru. Um, I know that, I don't know where to start. Warm-up games. Let's talk warm-up games. They never mean anything if you lose them, but when you win them, and especially when you thrash India and Australia, the two tournament favourites, suddenly they do take on a bit of significance, don't they?
Yeah, I guess that's always the nice way to look at things. Yeah, we certainly kind of played in a way that we wanted to focus on our processes, but also focus on how to get wins. I think World Cup cricket is very much about getting over the line, and starting well in the two warm-up games has been crucial to that. And obviously South Africa coming this week is going to be another tough test. So yeah, we're ready and raring to go.
I mean, you've gone through a transition, a couple of changes of coaches in the last sort of few years throughout your time. You've been in a team for quite a while now. Going into, leaving England, should I say, what was the mentality of where your team was at and realistic chances in this 50 over World Cup? And like manager just said, after them two victories in the warm-up games, do you reassess? Do you think, right, we've got more of a chance of going on and winning this tournament?
I think for us, like we never really focused on what the expectation is. I think why limit yourself or why put something too far out there. I think for us, it was about getting our group together, getting us moving, getting us playing in the way that we want to play our 50 over cricket, and seeing that as a process and taking it step by step. And so far, so good. And obviously, there's always an expectation on any England team in any World Cup. So for us, we're certainly looking to get as far ahead in the tournament as we can. But yeah, for us, it's all been about getting the team together, get everyone, playing the way we want to play, knowing how to go. And so far, it's going pretty well, and we're looking forward to the starting, really.
So much talk about spin, and sometimes it can be overplayed in the subcontinent. I mean, Bengaluru traditionally doesn't spin wildly, does it? But Sarah Glenn was brilliant yesterday, and you do have at least four frontline spin options. Are those girls front and center? Do they know that this could be their moment?
I think so. I think obviously coming to India, you always want to have extra spinners in the squad, and I think for us, we know we've got two of the best in the world that really put revs on the ball and can spin it on surfaces that offer that with Charlie Dean and Sophie Exton, and like you said, Sarah Glenn as well has really worked on trying to get that lateral spin. So I think we're in a really good place having so many options. I think Lindsay Smith can bowl through so many different phases. We've got Alice Capsey and Emma Lamb also able to offer some overs. So if the pitches offer any spin, we've definitely got the armory to throw at anyone. And yeah, it's kind of great to have so many options, I guess, for Charlotte and Nat.
And Tammy, when you go into sort of major tournaments, world tournaments, your big players have to stand up. Your experienced players like yourself have to sort of stand up. What a start for Nat Skipper-Brunt. She is one of the best players in the world. And yes, when we talk about warm-up games, but to go and to get a big 100 in a warm-up game, that must be satisfying for the squad, and also sort of uplifting the squad, knowing that your experienced players are in top form.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she batted beautifully as she does, and yeah, she really leads from the front in how she goes about her batting, particularly when we talk about playing spin. I think she's one of the best in the world at it, and really kind of sets the standard of how we have to follow. And I think looking at the rest of the batting performances in the last two games, I think for me seeing Emma Lamb back up to 50s and Alice Capsey carry her bat yesterday in a tough conditions, being 30 for 3. I think for me it shows that it's yes, it's important that the senior players stand up, those that have got many caps, but actually the players we've got in and around that middle order are really coming into their own and thriving out here in these conditions and showing what they can do. So hopefully they continue their form as well.
Bookmakers don't always get it right, Tammy, but they've got India marginal favourites ahead of Australia at the moment. I think India are currently about 3-1, Australia 4-1, South Africa and England about 6-1, New Zealand 8 or 10-1, with Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and Bangladesh outsiders. Is that have they got it right?
Well, yeah, I don't tend to pay much attention to betting things, but I think this is the best chance India have ever had to win a World Cup. in the last kind of few years. You know, on home soil, we know how fanatical the Indian fans are, and how loud it's going to be when we have to take them on. I also think they're playing really good cricket. They did lose the series against Australia just a week ago, but they did really push them hard and won one of those games. And I think they are a team that if they play well, they can take on anyone. So yeah, I can understand that one. And yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see if they can handle that expectation, because that's a pretty big thing as the home team to have to handle.
Tammy, you talked about, you know, what India need to do to play well. What have your team got to do? What have England got to do to play well, get to the latter stages, and potentially go on to win the World Cup? What's the challenges that lie ahead, and what do you see that if we nail these certain things, then we have a great chance?
I think for me, it's getting contributions from the whole squad. You know, I think you can't win a World Cup on one or two players standing out. You know, I think we've really got such talent and depth in our spin department, which is obviously going to be great for us. And we're always looking for the likes of Sophie Eccleston to whirl away at one end, and you know, Nat Sciver-Brunt in the middle order. But I think for me, it's going to take a whole team effort. And once we get on a roll and hopefully get some momentum, and I think in a way the schedule for us, you know, the slightly bigger teams are maybe at the back end for us, so we can really kind of gain some momentum throughout and hopefully play some good cricket, but then kind of face your India, Australia and New Zealand right at the end of the group stages. Hopefully by then we'll have really good momentum, really good contributions throughout.
I'm glad you mentioned the schedule. I wanted to ask you about that. I think that it's the most brutal one for any 50 over World Cup ever devised at under 19 level, any level, men's, women's. You've got 7 games in 23 days. The attrition level on the players, I don't know. I mean, I can't help feeling that the depth of squads is going to be tested, and actually also player rotation. You're going to have to use all 15, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's 4 venues as well. So it's, you know, it's an absolute moving kind of carnival at times with the amount of bags and everything like that. I think in a way we're quite fortunate that we have 2 games at each venue before moving, so you can almost take a few things out your suitcase and not completely live out of a bag. But no, I think it is. I think India is also a very tough place to tour. I'm sort of, Steve's probably got a few stories of you know, how sometimes illness can take people down. So, you know, you might have a set 11 that you want to play, but at some point you're going to have to adapt, you're going to have to change, and everyone is going to have to be ready, and everyone's going to have to be ready to contribute.
Yeah, it's a tour. India, the likes of India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, it's always a tour. And I think Manners has toured India 17 times. So he's experienced enough as well. But it's a tour that brings teams together, Tammy. For me, is that if you are, like you say, you get on a roll and you get some momentum, because on tours like that, you spend a hell of a lot of time together, more than you would in Australia or South Africa, because you can get out, you can spread around. But on these tours, you have to stick together, and it's important that, you know, as a group, that you do stick together and you do gain momentum. And you know, how's this group gone with that? Because you've been given a little bit of a new lease of life with a new coach in Charlotte Edwards. How's Charlotte gone with the group, and where are you in the sort of the timeline of where you're looking to get to?
Yeah, Charlotte's been great to come in. I think she's got a real infectious energy about her, and you know, I've known her a very, very long time. Obviously played with her and under her at the beginning of my career, and I think for me is, you know, she's the same Charlotte, the same values, the same winning mentality, that ruthless nature. I think is really starting to transfer across into our performances, but also that care and respect for the players and the environment, I think is really important. And she's certainly bringing that across in her coaching. And yeah, I think, you know, she's trying to make sure it's as fun as possible. And any little funny moments that end up on the live stream get clipped up and shown in meetings. So there's certainly a lot of laughs and things like that. So yeah, she's going great.
On a personal level, Tammy, 2017, the glory year, player of the tournament, the leading run scorer, England winning the World Cup. You were 25 or 26 then. Um, it's 8 years later. You're 34. You're the senior player. People look up to you now as a leader. Does it feel like 8 years ago, or does it feel like last year?
Well, I'm 5'2", so no one looks up to me. But I think in a way, yeah, I guess it probably does feel like quite a long time ago. I think the women's game has changed irrecognizably almost since then. And yeah, I feel a real privilege to still be here, still be a part of it, and going into kind of my fourth 50 over World Cup and hoping to try and replicate some of that magic from 2017. But yeah, I think in a way it's kind of nice for some of us that were there in 2017 to be staring down another 50 over World Cup and feeling in a really good place, ready to go.
And Tammy, just finally for me, obviously there was a lot of talk about, you mentioned that 2017 World Cup, a lot of talk about your players who've come and gone and stuff like that. Kate Cross, somebody who you know well, you've played a lot of cricket with, she's not there. Have you spoke to Kate? The void that needs to be filled, the experienced player is not going to be there. You know, she's going to be missed probably more off the field than sort of on the field, but it's a big character not to have.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you really feel for someone in that situation. It's never easy. You know, I've myself been dropped from T20 World Cups over the last few years, and obviously the news about her contract's also really not ideal timing. And you really feel for someone. I think in sport at times is really cruel, and you never really get that fairy tale that you're after. And I've certainly stopped dreaming of a fairy tale because you just know that very few people get them unless you're named Stuart Broad, probably. But yeah, certainly feel for her, and she is a big miss. She's, you know, been the leader of the bowling attack for quite a long time, and it's not just kind of the overs she bowled, but you know, how she goes about her game and the conversation she has. But I think in a way, you know, the likes of Lauren Bell has played a lot of cricket now and is starting to really get into that role. And we've got a new bowling coach in Chris Liddle, who's come in with really great ideas to try and fill that void. But yeah, it's never nice to see one of your mates kind of missing out.